In the beginning, there was a computer scientist named Alexey Pajitnov who worked at the Soviet Academy of Sciences in Moscow. His job was to design puzzles for a computer, but he wanted to create something more engaging than the puzzles that existed at the time. So in 1984, he created a game with falling geometric blocks. He called it Tetris. But back then, Tetris was just a fun little project that he hoped would show off the power of Soviet computers. He never imagined that one day it would be played by millions around the world. And even if he did, he definitely wouldn't have guessed the wild journey that lay ahead. You see, after creating the game, Pajitnov showed it to his colleagues and they loved it. Soon, people all over Moscow were playing it on their office computers. But this was in the days before the internet and social media. So if you wanted to share something cool, you had to use a physical storage device like a floppy disk. And that's what happened with Tetris. People started putting the game on floppy disks and sharing them with their friends, which is how the game eventually made its way out of the Soviet Union. In 1986, two Hungarian programmers who were visiting Moscow got their hands on the game and brought it back home. There they teamed up with a local publisher called Budget, Presto, who then published Tetris for the Hungarian market. And not long after that, Tetris made its way to the United States. The first American to get involved was a man named Robert Stein, who was president of a software company called Spectrum Holobyte. He found Tetris so compelling that he took it upon himself to track down the inventor, Alexey Pajitnov. The two struck up a deal, and together they shopped the game around to various publishers. One of those publishers was Mirrorsoft, a British company who wanted to release the game on the ZX Spectrum. With Mirrorsoft on board, it seemed like the game was set to take over the world. But there was one small problem. Neither Mirrorsoft nor Spectrum Holobyte had actually secured the rights to publish Tetris. You see, in the Soviet Union, there was no such thing as private ownership. So when Pajitnov created Tetris, he didn't own the rights to it. The Soviet government did. This meant that if anyone wanted to publish the game outside the USSR, they needed permission from a Soviet organization called ELORG, which stood for Elektronorg Technika. ELORG oversaw the licensing of software and hardware products from the Soviet Union, and they were very much interested in making a deal with Mirrorsoft. But here's where things get complicated. Mirrorsoft wasn't the only one who wanted to publish the game. Companies like Atari and Nintendo also jumped in on the action, each believing that they had the rights to Tetris. This led to a confusing mess where multiple companies were releasing versions of the game claiming to have the rights. This obviously wasn't ideal, but there was nothing anyone could do about it until Nintendo came along. In 1989, Nintendo wanted to release the game on its new handheld console, the Game Boy. They knew that Tetris would be a perfect fit for the console, but they also knew that they needed to get the rights from ELORG. So they sent a team to Moscow to meet with the Soviet organization. After some tense negotiations, Nintendo came to an agreement with ELORG, beating out Atari and the others. And on April 1989, Tetris officially launched for the Game Boy. It was an instant hit, and quickly became the game that everyone thought of when they thought of the Game Boy. In the years since, Tetris has gone on to become one of the most ported and best-selling games in history. And while the early days of the game were filled with drama and uncertainty, today it's safe to say that Nintendo and Tetris are forever linked. But what about Pajitnov? Well, it's a bit sad, but for many years he didn't make any money from the game that he invented. You see, when he first created Tetris, he didn't own the rights to it. The Soviet government did. This meant that any profits made from the game went directly to the government. It wasn't until 1996, after the fall of the USSR, that Pajitnov was able to regain the rights to the game. Thankfully, a video game entrepreneur named Hank Rogers helped him navigate the legal complexities, and together they founded the Tetris company. From that point on, Pajitnov was finally able to benefit from the game that he invented more than a decade earlier. Today, Tetris continues to be one of the most recognizable games in the world, and its story is a reminder that sometimes the simplest games can have the biggest impact. If you like this video, please subscribe and follow, and as always, thank you very much for watching.